Just one puffs it and flicks it.
Hello out there in internet land. This is episode 19 of the 2023 season of the F1 Chat. I'm your host, Phil Lamington, despite the fact I've got bronchitis, but I'm still alive. Seated to my left is a man who's very, very happy because he got a 2 and a 3, and that's JB, and my poet, and I didn't know it.
Well done. 2 and a 3.
Not the Spice Girls poster.
Not the Spice Girls poster. No. Absolutely stoked. Magnificent from the McLaren boys again. This car is like constantly on the podium now. Like, I couldn't be happier. Considering how this year started, it's just absolutely incredible. It's been awesome.
Right, and seated to my right is a man who is absolutely happy by the magnificent form that was Sogan Largent. And it's Longhorn, how are ya?
Yep.
At $2.99.
Another weekend, another dead shit award goes to.
He made it to Suzuki.
Yeah.
And now
In the Japan.
In
into Japan. And now he's going
I
home.
played that clip for my girlfriend on the weekend, but specifically that bit from the last episode of us just ragging on Logan Sargent. At first she was sort of like, what are you on about? And the Hiroshima comment I made, she was just like, gee, that's a bit strong. That's a bit stiff.
And she
then-
not listened to the
I think
podcast before.
but then-
Yeah.
But then she got to the see you in Suzuki in Japan. And she
Japan.
lost it. She lost it.
Do you know that's the third car they've had to build for him?
And
Really?
And they
Yeah.
got done for it too.
Yeah, he had a
Exceeded-
10-second penalty at the
Yeah.
start in pit lane.
Yeah, because
Should have stayed there.
They exceeded the number of components.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that he could change in parc ferme conditions
Is that an ongoing penalty now?
It
Or
should-
just for that race?
just for that race because he changed too many components.
Remember how F1 used to be like it's like a 60-place grid penalty or something? McLaren, I'm pretty sure McLaren back in 2015 got like a Jenson Button got like a 60-place grid penalty.
And
They're like, how do we enforce that? And they're like, just starting from the pit lane.
Yeah.
So now they've just gone away from like grid penalties and they just started from the pit lane.
and Fernando Alonso, he got the GP2 penalty.
He certainly did.
He likes a good whinge, doesn't he? Jesus. Right. So, that we watched the Japanese F1 from Suzuka. Sorry, Logan Sargent. It's Suzuka, not Suzuki. That's a car brand.
It's a bike brand.
That too. It's a car brand as well.
Yeah, but okay.
Is Suzuki still in MotoGP?
Yes. No,
No.
they were. They pulled out.
Oh, wimps.
Yeah.
All right. So, this was race 16
Mm.
of this season. And it was from Suzuka in Japan. It was a very nice day too.
It wasn't torrentially raining
Yeah, it makes a change.
for the first time in like 4 years.
It's going to be interesting though next year because it's around the same time as the Australian F1.
Yeah, it's like after. It's like round 4.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But no, that track's good in the wet, but man, it's been good to watch like a dry race.
yeah.
Especially because like the normally wet races that we have, or the normally dry races that we've had have been wet. Like, didn't we have 3 or 4 in a row that were just like raining?
Yeah, wasn't Baku raining
I think so.
and wasn't Monaco raining?
Yes.
Monaco had rain, yep.
Yeah, and wasn't Australia. Certainly wasn't Bahrain.
No, it doesn't rain in Bahrain. You just get the tyres on there and try it out.
It was a Pirelli test.
Yeah. In the middle of a Grand Prix.
Yeah, there was I think it might have been Austria.
Yeah. It was. Like, there's been a few like wet races in a row, and I know people were like really worried coming into Japan. There's going to be another like typhoon.
Well, it did rain, but it rained overnight,
Yeah.
so it would have helped the
So
the
yeah,
racing
it
a
was,
little
it
bit.
was good to have a dry Suzuka race.
Well, speaking of the race, it's time for the F1 report.
Yeah.
JB, it's yours. Take it away.
K rock and roll, baby. The 2023 Lenovo Formula One Japanese Grand Prix from Suzuka.
How can Lenovo sponsor anything? Sorry, I've had a tablet, a 2 tablets and a computer from Lenovo. All of them crap.
So this is one of the sponsors that we're not backing?
No.
We're
no.
okay with the oil company and Singapore Airlines and
Oil for lunch, dinner, and tea, and flying Singapore
You've
Airlines.
got your phone
And
on
Heineken.
my busted-ass Lenovo computer.
that you haven't touched in forever. Look at all the dust on that thing.
Yeah, well, I was going to try and fix it and make it go.
Anyway, they do.
Anyway,
I don't know
computers
why
are-
Lenovo is the sponsor of the Japanese Grand Prix. Like, Toshiba's surely the better brand.
Sony,
Sony? Anything. That
Nintendo.
one.
Get Nintendo. Everyone can throw bananas and green shells at each other.
Did you see the meme that McLaren put up after Carlos Sainz got Flovis from Lando's McLaren during practice?
No.
They're driving out the pit lane and Carlos was behind Lando and the Flovis flew off the McLaren into his visor. So McLaren put up the thing with the banana fields behind the McLaren. They're like, yeah, the new upgrade worked well. Anyway, lap 1. Back to normality for all you non-Max Verstappen fans. Max Verstappen starts on pole position alongside Oscar Piastri. Lando Norris jumps Piastri into second. Contact is made further back in the field between Valtteri Bottas and Alex Albon. Bottas getting a puncture and the safety car is deployed for the debris in turn 1. Lap 3, Sergio Perez changes his front wing after losing the end plate. Both Williams pit, as does both Alfa Romeos. Lap 5, Valtteri Bottas is hit in the rear at the hairpin and spins into the gravel, rejoining the race. Lewis Hamilton and George Russell scrap over 7th place. Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes seeming to have slight damage. Lap 9, Valtteri Bottas retires from the Grand Prix. Lap 10, Sergio Perez is given a 5-second time penalty for a safety car infringement for passing Alex Albon under yellow. Lap 11, Esteban Ocon passes Kevin Magnussen for 11th. Lap 12, Kevin Magnussen and Sergio Perez collide at the hairpin, Perez needing a second new front wing. Lap 14, Oscar Piastri pits just as the virtual safety car is deployed. Lap 15, Sergio Perez is ordered to retire the car. Lap 16, Piastri passes Gasly for 7th. Lap 17, Max Verstappen pits for medium tyres. Lewis Hamilton pits for hard tyres. Lap 18, Lando Norris pits for hard tyres. Lap 19, Charles Leclerc passes Esteban Ocon for 5th place. Lap 20, Carlos Sainz passes Fernando Alonso for 7th place and then Esteban Ocon for 6th place. Lap 22, Lance Stroll pits and retires with rear wing failure. Lewis Hamilton passes Fernando Alonso into 130R and then passes Esteban Ocon down the front straight, climbing to 7th. Lap 27, the McLaren swap places despite an initial protest from Oscar Piastri, moving Lando Norris up into 2nd. Lap 28, Alex Albon pits and retires, joining his Williams teammate Logan Sargent. Lap 35, Charles Leclerc pits for hard tyres. Lap 36, Oscar Piastri pits for hard tyres. And lap 37, Lando Norris pits for hard tyres. Lap 38, Max Verstappen pits for hard tyres and sets back off into the lead of the race. Lando Norris passing George Russell for 3rd. Lap 39, Carlos Sainz pits for hard. Sergio Perez rejoins the race, 6 laps down, in order to serve his still outstanding 5-second time penalty. Lap 42, Oscar Piastri passes George Russell for 3rd. Lap 43, Sergio Perez officially retires from the Grand Prix. Lap 45, Charles Leclerc sweeps around the outside of Turn 1 on George Russell up into 4th place. Lap 49, Lewis Hamilton passes George Russell, leaving his teammate exposed to Carlos Sainz. Lap 50, despite Mercedes trying to give Russell the DRS tow from Hamilton, Carlos Sainz passes George Russell for 6th. And lap 53, Max Verstappen wins the Japanese Grand Prix from McLaren's Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. The win sees Red Bull Racing seal the 2023 Constructors' World Championship, their 2nd in succession and 6th in their history. Max Verstappen gets fastest lap. Oscar Piastri gets driver of the day.
In 4th place was Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. 5th place was Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes. Sixth place was Carlos Sainz in the other Ferrari. Seventh place was George Russell in the Mercedes. Eighth place was Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin. Ninth place was Esteban Ocon in the Alpine. And 10th place was Pierre Gasly in the other Alpine. Alpine. What would say Alpine for?
No, it's an Alpine.
Oh, I have no idea. It's like an Alpine, but...
It's an Ocon Alpine.
Yeah.
The Alpine.
Yeah, that's right. We'll go with that. So I really enjoyed that race.
Yeah, it was a good one.
It was, there was a lot of passing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of passing, which is good.
A few incidents.
I did notice they took a DRS zone out. Because there used to be the, after the spoon, heading into 130R, they used to have a DRS point there.
A long time ago.
And they took that out.
They took it out because they are worried if the cars take 130R with the rear wing open, with no
be out.
downforce on the rear tyres, they're just going to spin in the wall.
Yes.
So they removed it because they obviously don't brake at all until the chicane. Though there have been calls to bring it back, but I'm not so sure it's a good idea.
I think it's a bit unsafe doing it,
Yes.
putting it there.
Especially in Japan where it tends to rain a bit.
Yeah.
You're able to pass there without it anyway. So
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
Lewis
right.
put an awesome move on Fernando.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can be done. You can overtake a Formula One car without the aid of DRS.
Yeah.
They used to do it in the old days.
There once was a time.
Back in my day, when tobacco cigarette sponsorship was like legal,
The golden era, hey.
and everything
Grid
was
girls.
and everything was sponsored by
smoking.
Foster's,
Yeah. Marlboro and Foster's
Marlboro
everywhere.
and Foster's,
Just 10 V8, fucking V10s on the sideline ready to go.
ready to rock and roll. Money is no object.
And everyone had a third car.
Yep.
Yeah, the T car.
Yeah, Sogan Largen would have been alright.
He's
Actually,
just getting back in there. He just crashes, runs back to the pits. Crashes, runs back to the pits. Crashes, runs back to the pits.
technically, the car that he drove, and this is why he got the penalty, was because it was technically a T car.
Because they just had to build.
Yeah, it's-
They built it like on the plane on the way over.
No. They had a chassis and a crash cell sitting out the back, and they had to put all the other parts on it to
Yeah.
make it a car because his one.
Is
on-
that the one when he bit it in qualifying?
Yeah.
He cracked the chassis. Really?
Yep.
They had to build a whole car overnight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the third car they've had to build.
And because,
Holy
and because
shit.
technically it was a T car, and he put too many parts on in Parc Ferme,
Like all of them.
all of them.
How many parts did we overbuy?
all,
Yeah, all of them. How many place grid penalty is that?
all of them.
I'll see you in Qatar.
Right, key drivers. I'll skip past that. There we go. Key drivers. My first key driver was Lando Norris.
Yeah. Hell of a weekend.
Drove a smart race at the start because Piastri was on second on the
Oscar
front row.
Piastri did out qualify him though.
But at the very start, like Max Verstappen was
Oh,
trying
man,
to cover Piastri,
Yeah.
and then at the last second saw Norris and tried to cover him.
Yeah.
Lando nearly had him on the outside, and Lando reckons because he was on the dirty side of the track, he reckons if I started on the clean side of the track, I would have been leading the race.
Yeah.
Because his reaction time was 0.4 of a second faster than Max's.
0.3.
Yeah, it was a really good start by Lando. Yeah, it's a really good, really good 2 weekends in a row from McLaren now.
Yeah.
I'm getting used to this. I'm liking it.
And my next key driver was Oscar Piastri. Like, he had a great qualifying.
His first time at the circuit,
First time at the circuit.
first time at Suzuka,
First
and he's
podium.
whacked it on P2, and now he's on the podium for the first time.
And, you know, unlike the Mercedes drivers, it was team orders. Yeah, he said, look, you know, I would like to stay in front. But he was smart enough to go, okay, all right, I'll let Lando through.
Lando did generally have more pace than him, at least.
Yeah. He
At
was
least it wasn't
faster.
one of those calls that's like they get in front and they barely pull
To
ahead,
be
you
fair,
know?
Oscar did block him on the first time.
Mm.
The lap before they asked him to swap, and Oscar blocked him into turn one. And Lando's like, are we doing it or not? And then Lando's engineer was like, yeah, we're doing it next lap. So it was almost a whoopsie, but
But they seem to work a lot better than Hamilton and Russell.
Yeah.
Oscar Piastri doesn't protest, although I would like to think McLaren will give him one back
Eventually, yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah. My next key driver was Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
I think he drove
Solid weekend.
a solid weekend.
2 in a row for him.
And he outsmarted Mercedes because Mercedes were trying his strategy
He
against him.
literally said that on the radio. He's like, oh, I see they're trying my trick from last week.
Except they didn't do it as well.
Except Carlos just waited until George Russell was close enough.
And my final key driver was Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, good weekend.
Yeah, he had a good solid weekend at the office, got them some points, and he missed out on the podium, but he was catching. He was
Yeah.
gaining.
Probably a better weekend than he needed. I mean, after last week, he sort of... Not that it was a bad weekend in Singapore, but I think he just needed
Yeah,
a bit of a better one.
yeah, he needed a good weekend.
I love that we're so accustomed to Max Verstappen winning and being so great that he's never a key driver.
Yeah.
Because he's just...
He just doesn't
He
have...
just skates
It
off into
just
the
comes
distance.
with the territory. Like,
Yeah.
Max
But-
Of
Verstappen's
course you're the key
amazing.
driver, bro.
We don't need to talk about it.
The dude can literally wrap up the... If he wins the sprint race in Qatar, he's world champion. Like,
Yeah.
that's a fucking one hand and 4.5 fingers on the fucking trophy. Like, he's got it.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, so then we move to our favourite news subject, dead shit drivers.
woo!
Right, first one, regular subject here.
So we got a couple, have we?
Yeah.
I feel like if you've got a few, we should do it and then we should vote on who we think was the
Yeah.
worst that weekend.
Logan
Okay.
Sargent.
Oh,
End of the
Of course,
conversation.
yeah.
I don't know.
There was a
Actually,
few this weekend.
There was a few this
So
weekend.
my first one was Lance Stroll.
Yeah.
And I've got to bring this up too. Last week, we were talking about Stroll's contract, and I
Yeah.
said that it's his birth certificate. Apparently, his contract is up at the end of next year.
Right, so they actually...
Is he going to make it that far?
Oh, yeah, probably.
He probably will, actually, to be fair. Let's be honest.
So, yeah, he does have a contract that ends at the end of next year.
I'm going to defend Lance here a little bit, though. Where did he qualify?
At the back somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever. But, okay. He didn't crash out. His rear wing was cracked. That doesn't
Yeah.
tell. Yeah, his rear wing cracked on his Aston Martin, which is why he had to retire from the race. And I
Crack
didn't-
from an incident or just
It
flex in the wind sort of thing?
it flexed over a curb. It just gave way.
Right.
The end plate just snapped. So,
Right. So he
Still,
was driving too.
but I mean, but Fernando did finish in the top 10 this race.
Yeah.
So don't think the Aston Martin was complete dog shit this weekend.
Well, I nearly put him on this list because he's whinging about you fed me to the lions, blah 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 blah. Blah. Like, shut up, Fernando.
He finished 7th. I mean, I don't think he could have expected more.
No, 100% he
Eighth.
couldn't have.
8th. He could not have expected. Look at all the drivers ahead of him.
Well, that's exactly where their
All
car
the
was
drivers
this
ahead of him. That's exactly where he would have finished.
100%.
The Red Bull, the 2 McLarens, the 2 Ferraris, and if Sergio Perez wasn't a complete wanker, he would have probably finished 9th. So
Well,
that's to be expected. I don't think Fernando could honestly have expected more.
No, he couldn't have.
okay, so that's Stroll.
Yep.
My next driver is Sergio Perez.
Yes.
He had an absolute
Dog
shocker.
shit weekend.
Horror weekend.
Like, how he was driving during the race, it's just like...
How do you retire from the same Grand Prix twice? That's how bad of a weekend he had.
Yeah, they had to send him back out again to serve the penalties, wasn't it? So he doesn't.
He
serve
retired from
anything.
the race, and so in order to avoid a grid penalty at Qatar, went back into the race, which I didn't even know was legal.
I didn't think it was either.
Apparently it is, and did a lap, served his 5-second time penalty, did another lap, and officially retired from the race. I didn't know you could go back. Like, what was the original reason he was going to retire from the race? Oh, yeah, damage, I think.
Damage, yeah.
Yeah.
He went through 2 rear wings, and they just sat him in the pits for like 6 laps.
Because he ploughed into Bottas.
Yes. But he lost his front end plate on lap 1 as well.
And
Yeah.
he ploughed into Magnussen.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not.
2 incidents this
he
weekend.
just-
Man, he's
No, he
just
hit-
driving on tilts
no,
at the
He
moment.
hit Hamilton and Magnussen. He didn't hit Bottas.
Bottas was your mate.
Yep.
Sargent.
That was Sogan.
Yeah, Sogan Largent. The man on fire. Katniss Sargent. The girl on fire. That was just on the spot there. God, that was good, that one. Yeah, but Perez, like, fuck. If he's trying to make a case for wanting to keep
Keeping
his
his
seat,
seat, yeah.
he really has not done himself a single solid this weekend.
This
Yeah,
year he
right.
really hasn't, let's be honest. Like, he's really only up there because of the pure dominance of that car.
Not that he's showing it at all.
That's what I mean. Like, he is not showing the dominance of that car. He's just merely there because even as poor as he's been, that car's just been so dominant, you're going to be up there. Like, he hasn't outdriven that car one bit or driven that car to its potential.
He's up there from association.
Yeah, that's it.
He doesn't even need to drive it to its potential to, like, get a decent result.
Yeah, he just needs to keep
But
it
he's
clean.
not even doing that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
You could drive that car to its 70, 80% potential.
You could phone it, you could
and
phone
you will
it in.
still top 5.
Yeah, every week.
You will still top 5.
He should be phoning that in every week just
Yeah.
to secure second.
Yeah,
But
you don't
he's
even-
somehow like not getting out of Q1s
Yeah.
and crashing, and you're just like, that's the worst thing you could be doing.
Yeah. Like, a monkey could drive that thing.
Well, for me, the pièce de résistance.
And no, I don't mean that in a racist Helmut Marko way. I just mean that. I just mean that. It's a hypothetical. I really felt like I had to point that out almost instantly. I'm like, wait a minute. Helmut Marko said racist things like 2 weeks ago.
The editor at YouTube is just about to hit the demonetization button. Hey, don't you explain it? He's slowly pulling his finger away. Like,
It's like, wait a minute.
Hey, hang on, these guys aren't making any money. Why am I watching it?
Take their
I want you
5
to-
cents away.
I want you to monetize us so you can demonetize us.
Right, but the pièce de résistance with Perez this weekend was actually behind the VSC. Because he's behind they're cruising around the VSC, and Lando Norris is behind him, and Norris is on the blower going, he is driving 5 seconds slower than the Delta. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell is this?
I think that's what he got his penalty for.
Yeah.
Oh, he got 2 penalties. He got like
He overtook coming into the pit lane, I believe.
he overtook someone coming into the pit lane, and then when he was going out of the pit lane, he overtook like 3 guys.
Yeah.
and
And he
then,
didn't let
and
him
then
back
and then
through.
had to redress that.
Yeah.
Far out.
It was shocking.
Yeah,
Redress is the word. Don't shake your head at me. I don't care if Neil Crompton's favourite word is redress. Redress is the terminology.
I thought you said Ridge Race. Like
I
that
said
old game.
redress.
Because it sounded like Ridge Race.
Redress.
Like Ridge Racer.
Well,
The old
Sergio
PlayStation.
Perez might be a ridge racer because he's
Yeah, well.
driving terribly.
Yeah, drive the 88 Gallagher car. My next, it's a man who needs no introduction. It's Sogan Largent.
Yee.
What another... imagine being those mechanics. Like, I watched their face when he crashed out in
Qualifying.
qualifying, right? And they were just like... You could
It
see
was
him just
exactly
like...
how you described it.
Yeah, you could see him just
It's the
like,
rush scene.
oh,
They're
yeah,
angry.
100%. They're just like, this freaking guy, you know what I mean?
Oh, mate, just lights up a ciggy.
Yeah.
In the pit lane.
Like,
Just like- just one puffs it and flicks it in front of the cameraman.
that's what it looked like.
It just storms off.
And you get that other guy who's they had like a 20-second camera shot on him. It's like nearly a minute. Where he's sitting there and he's just got his head in his hands. You can just see him sitting there going, fuck.
Simon and Garfunkel in the background. I know darkness,
My old friend. I've come to talk with you
Oh, my
again.
Just picturing a Williams mechanic just doing that, just flick, walking off.
Slams his helmet down, fucks off.
As his smoke flicks and he walks off and just goes, fuck.
Kicking
They
everything.
looked so dejected.
I was
Like,
just
are
like-
you kidding me? And they've had to rebuild a car again, and then he goes out. Again, I'm with you, GB. I don't know if he has to serve a penalty every race from now on, but he started
He
this
is
race.
the
in the
But not
penalty.
only that, they had to rebuild a T car.
Yeah,
They're so pissed off because the only parts they got out the back of the crash cell. It's like, we're going to have to do a whole Mikado set, boys,
literally.
before tomorrow morning because there's a curfew.
And then so he goes out on that from the pit lane with 10 seconds of penalties to serve from already crashing all the time. And what, we get a few laps in and poor Bottas just got absolutely jammed.
Plowed into him. Like, he just sailed on into him.
And it's
like,
so funny, right? Because all you've seen was, when you're watching the coverage, you just, like, see Bottas in the pit, like, spun off. and you just hear him like, "What the fuck?" And everyone's like, "Oh, Bottas has had a spin there. Like he lost it himself, as if it was Bottas's fault." And then he's going, "What the fuck?" And I'm thinking that doesn't sound like Bottas. Just like lose his tires or something. You know what I mean? Like,
And then they show the
they
replay.
show the footage, and it's Soga Largent losing his tires. Just literally.
That wasn't
taking
the
it out.
only thing he lost, man.
Oh.
He lost the plot. He lost any sense of driving
When
ability.
when does Williams announce that they've terminated his contract?
Oh, it has to be.
Honestly,
soon. We're the only team that hasn't announced our full driver lineup for next year.
who is Williams' reserve driver?
That's a
They,
great
they
question.
don't have one.
I know.
They
Stoffel.
can't afford one because they keep having to repair Sargent's car.
Well, Stoffel Van Dorn's walking around in an Aston Martin shirt.
I'm
but
pretty sure we
surely they
share
can-
one. Like we borrow. off
Mercedes
someone
has
else's,
like a
don't we?
floating.
Well, we'll
They
get,
have floating
we'll-
ones because
we'll-
I'm pretty sure.
We'll get to this a bit later. We'll get to this a bit later. Okay. Enhance your calm.
No, we don't have our own reserve driver.
Right. Now, the font.
Oh, well.
Hang on, we
finished
got to vote for who won that.
No, there's one more.
Oh, jeez.
It's not a driver.
Ooh.
It's the Mercedes strategy department who went full Ferrari.
They do.
Never go full Ferrari.
Only Ferrari goes full Ferrari.
Yeah, they did not redeem themselves after last weekend, did they?
But I mean, you've got Hamilton and Russell are trying to take each other out.
Yeah,
And then they try and pull it asides
yeah.
four
Oh,
laps
mate.
from the end. And Russell said they're going, shouldn't we just wait until the last lap to do this?
The one
No,
weekend
no.
Toto Wolff's away, man, he would have been furious.
Yeah, he would. That meme of him thumping the table and the nuclear bomb going off. That would have
Yeah.
been him. I think he might have been tapping Susie at that time. But after he finished with her, he saw that. He was
Oh, man, it'd be a pretty tense debrief after that, I reckon. Especially, I mean, a week ago, they would almost P2, P3.
yeah. But
Lewis was P3. then.
apparently Lewis Hamilton wants a team meeting with
Oh,
everyone.
Good. Do you remember what this is about? It's all about me.
Yeah.
The problem is that Lewis Hamilton, when those two were fighting, Lewis Hamilton was the one trying to drive Russell off the fucking track.
Yeah.
That's what George was getting. Yeah, he's like, that's what he said on the radio. He's like, are we fighting the others or are we fighting ourselves?
Yeah. But
Yeah.
then you get what they pulled on 4 laps to go, and it just backfired, and you just handed Carlos Sainz another position.
Yeah.
Mind you, I think if Sainz had another 3 laps, he would have caught Hamilton.
Oh yeah, he wasn't.
He's
The
far.
Ferrari was faster. Definitely
yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
100% he would have.
Right, so there's your nominees. The Lance Stroll, Sergio Perez, Logan Sargent, or the Mercedes strategy department.
I'll start.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Perez.
Yeah, I'm
that
going
was
to go.
a shock.
I'm going to go Perez as well.
JB.
Yeah, consensus.
There we
Pence,
go.
I mean,
Perez.
Logan Sargent's the low-hanging fruit there, but Sergio Perez had an absolute shocker by standards.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely terrible
So
weekend.
large, and I've come to expect him to be in these nominations. So
Yeah,
you've got to
he
give
just-
it to someone else when they have a bad one.
In the same way we don't rate Max Verstappen in the star drivers. We're not rating second large. He shouldn't even be a nominee. Like, he should just have the award.
That's it. Yeah.
Have your poo emoji trophy. Stand over in the corner next to your Chevy Silverado. Your fucking open bottle of fucking Budweiser and just stand over
Coors
there.
Light, Coors Banquet.
Yeah, Coors is Canadian. It'd definitely be. It'd be Bud Light.
Oh yeah.
It'd be like, supporting the gays or whatever they do.
Demonetized.
That end.
Half of the shit we say sounds like it comes out of Cards Against Humanity.
yeah.
Yeah. I never understood vigorous jazz hands until I encountered praying the gay away.
Yeah. Yeah. Did I?
Right. News time. First news item. Oscar Piastri has extended his contract with McLaren until the end of 2026.
Excellent.
Good for McLaren.
Excellent.
You know, last year I was sitting there going, look, I know this kid is good, but all this kerfuffle over him, he better be fucking on point.
He's the real deal.
And holy shit, he's
Once
fucking
they
on
ga-
point.
Once they gave him a car that works, he is on point.
He is the
He
real deal.
out-qualified Lando and then put it on the podium.
Yeah.
And he drove the upgraded car last week in Singapore on his debut in Singapore from P17 to P7. The kids
He's got talent.
got
Can
talent.
drive.
And Lando's got talent. And the car's got talent finally.
Yeah.
This whole thing is peaking. And the wind tunnel's operational.
Yeah.
Man, I thought McLaren wouldn't be fighting for race wins and championships until 2026, 2027. If we take this thing and upgrade it in the winter, we'll be fighting for race wins next year.
Oh, yeah, easily. But,
Like-
yeah, Oscar Piastri, for me, he's Rookie of the Year. He is a
Yep.
he is a blue chipper.
100% he is. 100%.
Yeah, he is.
Can you believe that Alpine let this guy go?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
That shows how
did
poorly
you
a run
see-
team they are.
Did you see what he put on X when he signed his contract?
Yeah, it was a good little jab at him, mate.
Yeah, I saw that and I was just like, oh, take that, Otmar.
Yeah, it was good. He basically reworded his original statement from a year ago,
Yeah.
where he said, you know, Alpine's put out this thing that I'm driving for them next year. This is false. I will not be driving for them next year. And then this one he's put in. McLaren's put out a statement saying I'll be driving for them until 2026. This statement is correct. I will be driving with them until 2026. And then Alpine underneath puts the Homer fading into the Bush gif.
Yeah, yeah.
Underneath it, they're like, oh, nice and easy contract negotiations.
Good, to be fair, good on the Alpine social
At least
media
they saw,
manager
the,
for playing
they
along.
saw
yeah.
the funny side of it. They're like,
Yeah.
yeah, all right.
Yeah, yeah. You got us.
See, I reckon if Otmar was still working at Alpine,
He'd be sour about it.
100%.
100%.
Oh, he was.
How sour was he towards McLaren in fucking Drive to Survive? He was so pissed off at Zach Brown, and Zach Brown like laughing at him.
Yeah, literally.
The only reason I'm going to miss up my Zaf now is because we don't get his reaction in
Yeah.
Drive to Survive because he's not there anymore.
I reckon he'll be in it for a bit,
Yeah.
and then they'll give him the boot, and then you'll see his reaction after that, and he'll be even more sour.
Yeah, 100%.
Fuck him.
No thanks, not my type.
There's no one's type.
All right, next news item is that Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda will be driving for AlphaTauri, or whatever the team is called.
It's going to be
Hugo
Hugo
Boss.
Boss Racing or something? Yeah.
Yeah, Hugo Boss.
till the end of 2024.
Fair enough.
Yep.
I feel for Liam Lawson, but fair enough.
Yeah. Unlucky for him, but I mean,
Keep waiting in the wings because you've obviously got talent. You know what happens with people that like wait in the wings that got talent. Look at Oscar
They go,
Piastri.
they
Here's
go
the
to
thing.
They
IndyCar.
go to IndyCar. Damn fucking right, he goes
I
to
think
IndyCar.
Lawson cemented his spot on getting a seat, though, if that makes sense.
Well,
Well,
appa-
they gave Nick DeVries a shot after last year.
apparently, according to Christian Horner, Liam Lawson is the new AlphaTauri test driver and reserve driver.
Of course he should be, yeah.
Wait until Perez leaves Red Bull, and then Ricciardo steps up to Red Bull. and
Well, that's
then
the thing,
Lawson will be in there.
100% he will, yeah.
If Christian Horner's locked him in, then he will drive it within 2 years.
I mean, that's been the plan in our face. I mean, we've all been calling for Perez to go early and Ricciardo to go up, because why
And
wait
we can't
on
even
things,
defend
but-
Perez anymore.
No, that's what I mean. Like,
Can't even do like he's making it so easy for Daniel.
it looks like no matter
Daniel doesn't
what,
even have to do anything now.
no, it's just going to... They're seeing out his contract. Once it's up, he'll be
Yeah.
out. Ricciardo will go up. It's
Yeah.
just... It's been what we've been seeing happening, evolving. We've just been saying to ourselves, why wait? Like, why not pull the trigger now? Because...
It might happen.
Yeah, I mean,
If he has another weekend like that.
Could still, but... Yeah. 2025, Ricciardo will be Red Bull and Lawson should be
Lawson
in
will
the
be
AlphaTauri.
at AlphaTauri or Hugo Boss or whatever the fuck.
Unless they loan him to Williams, because we still have not confirmed our other seat.
You still haven't confirmed that you're fucking off Logan Sargent either, but here we are.
Not that we need to confirm that, we just need to confirm who else is replacing him.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. There was one last thing. I just wanted... It's not so much a news item, but it's just something I want to go over first before we get to the new segment called Racing Strategy. So at the end of the race, Lando Norris got on the radio and said, we're coming for Red Bull in 2024 or something. Something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing there.
That's pretty much what he said.
Now, I sort of want to bring an opinion here, but just jump in with your opinions as well. I think that next year, Red Bull might still skate off into the distance, but when you've got a McLaren that's resurgent like it is, like the McLaren now is, that's a car that can win races.
Yes.
You've got a Ferrari that can win races.
Yes. You got a Mercedes that can win races.
Oh yeah, so that's really 4 cars that can fight, and then you've got the Aston Martin that's the arse has dropped out of it.
Yeah.
But if they can upgrade it in the winter, has potential.
Yeah, I think Aston Martin played their hand.
I think
way too
they
early.
peaked. They peaked too early. Yeah. But
Yeah. But it's
what we're going to get next year is what we've got now, but from the start.
the thing is though. I think that Red Bull will still be on top.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be McLaren and Ferrari, the old hands, going for who's going to be second. And I think Mercedes will be, for a MotoGP term from the mid 2000s, Mercedes will be the Suzuki. They'll
They'll
pick
be
up
there-
the
there or
pick up the
thereabouts.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if it's an extremely wet race or something, they'll pick up the points, but they're not going to be the contenders that they expect to be.
I'm not so sure about that.
I wouldn't ever put anything past Mercedes when it comes
I think
to being at the
Singapore
top.
showed that they can be contenders. I think they did not work well enough as a team at Suzuka, but they should have been better than what they were.
Yeah.
Mercedes
But
have been
as
there or
Lewis-
thereabouts all year. They just haven't had that edge to win a race. But I wouldn't give any reason why they couldn't next year, if that makes sense. If we're all going to give every team a bit of credit that they're all going to improve a bit next year, because I'm with you on McLaren will contend for a race. Ferrari will be able to contend for a race. Obviously, Red Bull. I'm going to have to say Mercedes would have to as well. If you're going to give every team that little boost, Mercedes to me feels like a team that will get it.
The only thing that goes against that is Lewis Hamilton came out last week and said, we still don't know what the car's going to do track to track.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mercedes don't have their car figured out the way Ferrari and McLaren do, and Red Bull, obviously. Mercedes are the only ones that McLaren can rock up to a track. Zach Brown already said he expects good things in Qatar because it's going to suit the car.
Yeah.
Ferrari, I'm sure, has a hypothesis on what their car's going to do. Red Bull, they're going to Red Bull. They're probably going to win the sprint race and the Grand Prix, and Max will be world champion. But Mercedes are going to go there, and they don't know what they're going to do until the end of first practice.
Yeah, right.
Everyone else seems to have an understanding of their package and their car except Mercedes. So I think that will play into their hands next year.
Could we see Mercedes do a McLaren and scrap their car in a sense for next year?
Well,
and
that's
go a
what
completely different way.
That's what Ferrari is doing,
Yeah,
because they're modelling next year's car on Red Bull.
yeah.
I think everyone, McLaren has already done that, where they've modelled their car upgrades on.
Yeah, they started
On
with the
Red Bull.
side pods and then they basically just extended it from there.
And so a lot of teams are going to be playing catch up with that type of model.
You know, for a car that Zach Brown admitted was fundamentally wrong before the testing, at least McLaren now know what they have to start with for next year.
And you know what? I honestly think McLaren is going to beat Aston Martin now.
I think they
Oh,
might.
yeah.
I think
The
we
way they're
genuinely might catch them now.
Yeah. Same as I think that Ferrari might actually beat Mercedes. in
Yeah.
the
That's still
constructors.
going to be close. That's going to be close.
It's going to be close, but if Mercedes don't sort their strategy department out and keep Ferrariing it,
I don't think the Mercedes is as bad as you're making it out to be. I really don't.
well, I mean,
Lewis and George have to calm down on track and work as a team better. But I don't think the Mercedes is. I'm not writing it off anywhere near as readily.
my train of thought was with this track was you could see that the Mercedes was a bit down on power, or maybe it was down on aerodynamics or whatever.
Yeah,
because
it-
the Ferrari was gaining on it El Rapido.
Yeah, it was like the Mercedes was set up for last week for coming out of the power zones. Suzuka doesn't really have power zones. It's like a flow track, which was McLaren's weakness last year. So the turnaround in 12 months is pretty phenomenal.
The main problem, and I think the race did a video on it earlier this week, where they describe what's going on with the McLaren, is that in a corner like, say, Banky Boy from Zandvoort, you can't take it like a normal corner where you turn it and flow with the corner. You have to V the corner. So you go to a point, then hook it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be the big bugbear for the McLaren for the rest of this season, is trying to figure that out.
Yeah, well, it's always Lando's been saying it's low speed,
Yeah.
but he also reckons that the upgrades are hiding it well enough.
Yeah.
He says it's still the weakness of the car, but it's being hidden enough.
Yeah.
The rest of the car's improved enough to not make that a...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
much of an
plus,
issue.
there's no slow speed at Qatar. It's
Yeah, there
all
is.
high speed. It's all high speed whiny,
No, the first corner.
besides the first corner. That said,
Ow!
sorry.
Jesus!
Singapore's full of 90-degree corners, so like, where was that?
Oh, yeah.
And Lando P2'd it, so like,
Yeah.
where was that drama last week? There wasn't.
Yeah, but also the Ferrari P1'd it.
Well, it's because the Red Bull botched it, that's right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll thank the Red.
In closing, if Max Verstappen could just have a mechanical failure at Qatar, that'd be nice.
Yeah, McLaren's got a shot.
And
If
McLaren
if Sogan Larger could earn his contract and crash out Max.
He's never close enough. That's the problem.
he does get lapped.
Yeah.
He has to stay on track long enough to get lapped,
Yeah,
but
if
he will
if
get
can
lapped.
stay, that's it.
All right, so we're going to move on to racing strategy. We had this subject last week. We called it a talking point or a discussion point, but we decided to call it racing strategy. The Williams driver dilemma. Okay, so we're going to start with you, Longhorn. So you got three options of your driver. So I'll give you the first one. You tell me the positives. Liam Lawson. The positives of him driving at Williams. What do you think of the positives of him if he were to go there?
The positives are he comes from our sort of side of the world, so he'll get a fair bit of support out of NZ and Aussie. So it's a new sort of market for Williams to sort of penetrate for fans. The kid's showed he can drive so far. In his few races he's had in Formula 1, he's shown he's pretty competent so far. He hasn't had any incidents. He hasn't done anything silly. He's kept his nose clean, and he's been pretty on par with his teammate. I think he even beat Tsunoda this weekend. He's shown in the other categories he's been put in that he's up there. So in Super Formula he was winning this year until he got pulled into the F1, and he should have won. I think it was GT. What was it? I can't remember what discipline it was, but
Would have been like Super GT. or
Super
something.
GT, I think it was. Yeah, I think he was in Super GT, and he should have won that. He got controversially taken out in the last race.
Kid's
by
got
someone
talent
else.
by the
Yeah,
sounds of it. I mean, he showed it, obviously.
yeah, he's there or there and up there. So positives for me is that he's come in and he's shown he can handle an F1 car. He's shown there's still more to come. So it would be about what is still there to come.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What do you think the negatives are, JB?
He doesn't really have a downside. Inexperience, but if Williams want to throw him the contract, cost, maybe.
Well,
But he's a rookie, so he's not going to be demanding the house.
I think the negative is that he's still under the Red Bull umbrella.
He'd
He'd be a loanee. Yeah, he'd be a loanee
Yeah.
driver, so he wouldn't be
Yeah.
our driver in a sense.
Yeah.
But if Williams were to offer him the contract, there's no real downside to him.
Yeah.
He's experienced. He's shown he can drive. And he's, not that he can take any Red Bull secrets over there, but he was in the system, so he sort of knows his
Yeah.
way around.
All right. So, JB, I'm going to ask the positives on this guy because his name keeps getting thrown around. Mercedes reserve driver, Mick Schumacher.
To Williams.
Yeah.
Really? He's not going to stay around for the Audi deal?
Well, he is the reserve driver for Mercedes, and Williams is a Mercedes customer team, so I think they're willing to lend out Mick Schumacher to Williams.
Yeah, well, that does make sense. Well, straight up experience. He's been around. He's been, what, did he do 2 years?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years
at
in
Haas.
Formula One, plus we did win the Formula 2 World Championship, which is more than Liam Lawson has done to this point. I think he was unfairly let go at Haas. And the name.
Yeah.
The name goes a long way.
Yeah, well, his uncle, who is his manager as well, he drove for Williams.
Yeah, well, there you go. You
So
can have
he's got ties there.
the Schumacher name comes back to Williams.
Yeah.
It sells itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think the negatives are?
I couldn't really point out any negatives for Schumacher. I think he'd be a great addition to the Williams for everything JB just said. If I had to play devil's advocate and try and look for something, it maybe be, has he got the, I'll call them the demons out of his head from his time at Haas? 'Cause
Absolutely.
he was unfairly let go, and he did have a couple of crashes, which I'm not going to pin against him. He, younger driver at the time. Happens. But yeah, has he got that out of his head in a sense? And has he moved on, forgotten about that and looking forward? That would be my only worry, is if would want him to come in with a clean slate in his head, that he knows he can drive, because he can drive, you know, as JB said, 1F2. I think he was more than good enough in Haas. They gave him a shit box that first year, and they gave him a shit box that second year. And he did put in some good performances outside of those couple of crashes that Gene Haas was upset about. So, to me, yeah, there's honestly no negatives other than I just would want him to have a clear head.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think that he was unfairly blamed at Haas for breaking the car a couple of times, you know, the big crashes.
Well, I mean, look what's happened to... Sorry to cut you off there, but look what's happened with Sogan Largent this year, right? He's been absolutely shocking. And to Williams' credit, they haven't come out and thrown him... Like, they haven't said bad things about him. James Vowers hasn't come out and said, you know, this guy... he hasn't put any pressure on him. You know what I mean? Whereas with
Do you
Haas,
think that's the right way of going about it, though?
I don't know. I think there's a happy medium. I think Haas went too strong with it, and I
Yeah.
think we've honestly been too light on it.
Yeah,
I do think we needed to be a bit tougher on him.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Gunther Steiner and Gene Haas blew the Mick Schumacher thing out of proportion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they didn't want to take responsibility for the fact that they gave him a shit box.
Yeah.
You can't turn chicken shit into a chicken salad.
I mean,
and now
they
they've got now they've got the drivers that they wanted.
Yeah.
And
they're
they're
not
fucking
exact-
P15 and P16.
Yeah,
They're
not
absolutely
exactly
no
climbing.
better. They're absolutely no better.
No.
They're worse. They're not even pushing to the top 10.
Yeah.
Which is what they wanted. Don't break the cars, but don't fucking push for glory.
Yeah, don't actually improve this car anyway. Go further. So,
Yeah.
All right. Positives
mm.
for you about bringing in Nick De Vries.
Oh, that's a tough one. Positives would be last time he was in our car, he was pretty good.
You got points.
Pretty handy. He got a ninth on debut and looked pretty happy. Pretty handy, sorry, not pretty happy. He would have been pretty happy that day compared to his AlphaTauri
Well, it was
gig.
bit of this and a bit of that.
Yeah, yeah. So positives would be he someone would know some of the team, as in he raced for us once. He's older. Yeah, like I said, driven in the car before, did pretty well. Outside of that,
He's probably going to have the fire in his belly, too, for a bit of redemption. As
I'd
well.
want to hope so. Yeah, yeah.
And a positive for me would be that he wouldn't have to deal with Helmut Marko. It would
Yeah.
be very much a clean slate for him.
Well, if anything, if the way we've sort of handled Logan Sargent, which we just quickly said then, you know, I think Williams could have been a bit more tougher on him, you know. Not the Helmut Marko, Gene Haas sort of, you know, treatment, but a little bit like, this isn't good enough, you know, maybe we need to have dropped you by now. Yeah, at least if De Vries come in, he'd be given time, which he probably needed to develop a bit, you know.
And I think Yuki Tsunoda, Alex Albon would work with him.
Yep, yeah, 100%. I think that'd be a good pairing.
What do you think are the negatives on Nick De Vries?
Where's his head at? Where's his head at? I mean, in much the same way... In his defence, though, in much the same way we lambast Haas for their handling of Mick Schumacher, Red Bull gave Nick De Vries zero chance to develop really anything.
Oh, he was dead on arrival.
He was dead man walking as soon as he got in the car. So if Williams can give him time in the car to develop, I think you'll see the talented driver that he was maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
I think the thing that worked against Nick De Vries at AlphaTauri was Sergio Perez.
You reckon?
Well, Nick De Vries, he wasn't doing well, granted, but as soon as Sergio Perez started going down the toilet, and then the rumour mill about Daniel Ricciardo, that's when Nick De Vries was done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Red Bull knew what they wanted from the start.
Yeah.
Which
They
is
should've
why he's... I mean, he has no reason to have trust issues coming back into Formula One, at least going to Williams. But I just wonder where he is mentally. Just knowing that he came in and he just got bitten and burnt as soon as he made his... Before he even got to make his mark on the sport.
Yeah.
And he's been away and his confidence is low. I honestly don't think he's the right fit. I think
Agreed.
the shine that Nick DeFries once had in my eyes is gone. Comparatively to a Mick Schumacher or Liam Lawson especially.
Right. So the final guy, and Longhorns immediately going to go, you set me up, you bastard.
Good luck.
The positives, JB, the positives on keeping Logan Sargent.
Positives on keeping Logan Sargent. Does he have a Budweiser sponsorship? Do you get a free Big Mac with every crash?
The mechanics get more practice.
The
Tell you what,
mechanics
fuck-
get really good at rebuilding a car.
Logan Sargent makes me want to bring back smoking sponsorship because God, the Williams freaking engineers could do with that. You know what I mean?
They're going to get the Rothmans? Was Rothmans their main sponsor in the 90s?
Yes.
Williams is bringing back the Rothmans.
But then Rothmans got bought by British American Tobacco,
Oh, yeah.
and they already had a team in BAR.
Yeah.
So that's why in 98 99 they lost Winfield as their sponsor because Winfield was part of Rothmans.
Yeah. Positives. There are none. Yeah, actually, literally none.
There is.
I can't defend him at all.
Which means it gets to the bit where he goes, "You set me up, you bastard." What are the negatives?
Where do I start? Go back and listen to any one of the podcasts we have done since he was announced as a driver, and you can hear every single negative thought on this guy. I mean,
We don't mock and joke about good drivers on this show.
yeah, that's it. I mean, the poor guy, if I'm going to give him some defense, even though I'm meant to be giving him negative, he wasn't ready. I said it from the start. He wasn't ready. They should never have thrown him in the seat. He was only in there because he's American and he was our one academy driver. Thirsty boy.
This commercial brought to you by Pepsi. Pepsi, get it in ya. Anyway, I wonder if Logan Sargent's sponsored by Pepsi. Probably not.
Yeah. I mean, look, the negatives are, like I said, go back and listen. The guy crashes too much. He's got nothing in the tank. His confidence has to be below. He doesn't know how to drive the car. His confidence is in the toilet.
He's got nothing going for him. The poor lad.
Here's one for you. Is he worse than Nikita Mazepin?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did not think I'd say that, but yes.
Yeah, I think he is.
You know
He is.
what? I'm actually going to disagree with you and go no.
Really?
On
I
what
thought-
basis?
I thought Nikita Mazepin was the drizzling shit.
But
only
Nikita
there-
Mazepin was driving a dog shit Haas.
Mm.
That Williams is not dog shit.
No, this is a car that can get points.
Alex Albon pros that the Williams is way better than the Haas was. Like, Logan Sargent is crashing a decent car.
Yes.
Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin were crashing a piece of shit
I'll,
that was
I'll-
unstable and fucking everything.
I'll tell you why I think that Nikita Mazepin is worse than Logan Sargent. And it's got nothing to do with his ability on track. Okay? For me, I'm taking a page out of Kevin Costner's character from Draft Day. It's a character thing for me. Logan Sargent, despite him having his ability exceed his grasp, or his grasp exceeding his ability, he wants to be in F1. Mazepin did not want to be in F1. He wanted to go shooting AK-47s and driving buggies with his mates.
He was there because his dad was a billionaire,
Yeah.
but he had no interest in F1.
Yeah.
You're right. At least Logan Sargent wants to be in F1.
And you know, when Logan...
Even though it's clearly not the place for him. And
Logan Sargent crashed it out on possibly the easiest corner in Suzuka during qualifying.
yeah, it's literally the last corner. It's such an
I mean,
easy squeezy.
yeah,
It was such a bad error. Like, did he... Instead of coming off the throttle, he literally engaged the throttle again and shot himself into the wall.
Yeah.
Like, has he not learnt from any of his accidents
He
he's had?
panicked.
He does it every single time when he needs to pull off, and every other driver does. He puts his foot down.
There's a bump in that final corner that unsettles the car, but as Lance Stroll did last weekend in Singapore, he was the only one who did it there.
But
Yeah.
this, if you go back and watch it, this was simply an error of he's gone down the throttle too hard and the back started to come out, and
Yeah.
instead of letting off and correcting himself, He sort of started to, and then put his foot down
He
again.
tried to like power into the slide to save it, and it just pushed him off the track.
It's just ejected him off. Like this comes into where he's not ready. Like the speeds of Formula One, we're talking microseconds of judgment you have to have.
Yeah, he's crashing a good car.
He doesn't have it yet.
He's crashing a good
100%.
car. He's not crashing a shitbox ass. He's crashing a good car.
I fully believe we would be challenging the Alpines in points if we had a half decent driver.
If you had
in
a
that
second
car.
driver, you're pretty much what McLaren was, last year?
Mm.
Where it was Lando Norris and Daniel Ricciardo in 15th.
I mean, I'm going to be bold here, but I honestly believe we could have a car that could fight for a podium next year. It just depends what the second driver we get on how consistent that car goes next year. What I mean by podium is I believe Albon could fight for a podium next year with the way this car's developing.
Well, James Vowles has said, like, don't expect the car to be anything great next year, but 2025 expect something good.
Is that what he's come out and said, has
Yeah.
he?
Yeah.
Right, I haven't heard him say that.
He said next year's car will be an evolution of what we got,
Which is decent.
and then 25, we're going to have the kinks ironed out, and it's going to be a rocket.
Righto. Looking forward to it because I do think James Vowles is the man.
Yeah,
for
I
us
think
right
so
now.
too.
Yeah.
I think so too. He's rolled the dice, but him and Albon are rolling the dice.
Mm-hmm.
They're rebuilding that brand and that team.
Yep, and that's why I believe
and
this.
now you've got Alan Permane coming over from Alpine.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, that guy was designing cars. He worked under Rory Byrne at Benetton back in the Schumacher days. Like, he's been around for a long time. He knows how a car works.
Mm.
So I think him coming in, Albon, James Vowles.
The only problems Williams is going to have, though, is keeping Albon.
Well, that's why we have to nail this second driver. That's why it's got to be a guy that's going to be up there with Albon. You know what I mean? Albon's the number one guy in this team. There's no question of that. But the next guy's got to come in and just push him that little bit. You know, he's got to be sweeping up points behind so Albon can sit there and go, this car's going somewhere. I've got another pairing. Like, if you got Logan Sargent and he's driving around, the only one fighting it, like, you're going to get over that very, very quickly.
That's it.
You know, so...
Well, that's it. To stop Alex Albon going to a big team, you got to become the big team.
Yeah, that's right.
Williams
That's
was
right.
a big team in the past. They can be a big team again. Just to stop Albon going to a big team, become the big team.
That's right.
And they're starting to.
They are.
The,
They
the
100%.
team's starting to come together and the car's starting to come together.
Yep.
So if Alice can stick it out for maybe one more contract cycle, I think Williams could be a top four
Well,
team again.
Going back to Sargent though, what was it? What race was it? Was it Monza or Zandvoort where he crashed out and he sat in the field for like 20 minutes?
That was
or something?
Edward. He was on the
Zandvoort.
dunes.
Mm.
You know, he sat in that field
Crashed out twice that weekend.
and then he went back to the pits and he was, he looked like he was ashamed of what he'd done.
Yeah.
If it was Nikita Mazepin, he would have said, "Oh, the car's shit. The car's your fault."
This is also comes into, I honestly feel like Williams is doing him a little bit of a disservice keeping him in the car. I honestly feel like if you had pulled him out a couple of races ago, because he had, well over half the year, he had done enough to be pulled out. I mean, AlphaTauri pulled De Vries out for essentially nothing. They're just like, we don't like this guy. He's not doing enough.
Yeah.
Even though they're in a car that you're not expected to do too much. You know what I mean? Like, granted, he might not have been the right fit, but they pulled the pin immediately. Like, they were just, like, ruthless, you know?
They knew.
Too harsh, you know?
But that sorry to cut you off. That goes back to my point. As soon as Sergio Perez started malfunctioning, then they went, Christ, we got to do something about Sergio Perez. We can't put Yuki Tsunoda in that car. We can't put Nick De Vries in there. So once Sergio Perez got wonky, they dumped him, got Ricardo in, so that might ignite a bit of a fire under Perez. Clearly, the fire didn't fucking work.
Nah, it's put him under more pressure.
And then Danny Rick screws up and we get... Well, it doesn't screw up. He stuffs up his hand. And we get Liam Lawson. So now, we know that Yuki Tsunoda is not going to get that Red Bull seat. He's going to be AlphaTauri until he goes to Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Ricardo will probably replace Perez at the end of his contract next year if they don't dump Perez before then.
Yeah.
Which has amazed me that they haven't dumped Perez already. Because normally they're so trigger happy about dumping someone.
Well, that's what I mean. They were trigger happy for De Vries, but they haven't been to Perez for some reason.
I reckon Perez has got a clause in his contract saying they can't do it
Probably.
because of what happened when he got dumped a year early by Aston Martin or Racing Point in favour of Sebastian Vettel.
I bet you there's some kind of clause where it wouldn't be like you can't dump me, but it'd be like if we secure the constructors and I'm within the top 2 or 3, you can't dump me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'll be one of those clauses where
Yeah.
it's like based on his performance, but his performance is just to shoe it in every weekend.
Yeah.
And they're probably sitting there frustrated going, well, technically he's fulfilling that requirement, but he's costing us. He's not over exceeding it, which is what we want from our second driver. So, because otherwise, I agree. Like we've had trigger happy Red Bull are. How come they haven't pulled him for Ricardo?
So,
Right. I can only imagine it's because they don't want to pay out his contract maybe a year early.
Could be.
Because he's still got next year.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So that's got to be the only reason they're keeping him there.
Yeah.
Especially after this weekend.
Yeah.
So
Quickly, just to jump back to our racing strategy. So out of those 4 I'm going to say, I'm not even going to acknowledge Logan Sargent's existence. But out of those 3 drivers, who would you take for the Williams seat? JB, start with you.
Mick Schumacher seems to be the easiest get, only because Liam Lawson's probably under the Red Bull contract.
Don't look at it. Just look at it as who you think would be the
objectively?
best. Yeah.
I'd probably still bring out Mick Schumacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil.
yeah, I'm going to go Mick Schumacher.
Yeah, I am too. Yeah. Yep. I do think he is the most, to add on to you, JB, he is probably the most gettable. But to me, he'd be the best.
He's got more experience than Liam Lawson.
More
Even though
experience.
Liam Lawson can drive.
The name would be great for Williams.
Yeah.
You know,
the synergy will be back.
yeah.
And long term, I see this because apparently Audi is trying to court Carlos Sainz to jump ship when Audi comes in 2026.
Yeah,
So
right.
if he jump ships to Audi, that opens the door for Mick Schumacher to join Ferrari.
That's right. I mean, Williams can go one or two ways. He either jumps into Williams and we become the big team, or it's a great stepping stone for him to jump into that Ferrari when he's ready.
Or to replace Hamilton at Mercedes.
Yep.
I don't think he'll replace Hamilton at Mercedes, though.
I think Albon will, if Williams don't become the big team.
So, yeah, Mick Schumacher.
Yep.
Across the board.
Yep, across the
Yeah.
board, yeah.
Yeah, he would be the get.
Right. So moving on to the driver's standings. And leading the championship is Max Verstappen on 400 points. Wow, wacky do.
Incredible.
Second place is Sergio Perez on 223 points. Third place is Lewis Hamilton with 190 points. Fourth place is Fernando Alonso on 174, and he is sliding backwards. Fifth place is Carlos Sainz. I think Sainz is going to get Alonso.
Oh, yeah.
Sixth place is Charles Leclerc with 135 points. Lando Norris is seventh with 115 points. He's tied with George Russell.
Wow.
In eighth on 115 points. Ninth place is Oscar Piastri with 57 points. He's
Starting to get
jumping.
reflective.
Still so mad at the next one.
He's still there.
How is he still there?
And 10th place is Lance Stroll with 47 points.
I don't know how he's still there. He hasn't driven good for weeks.
You mean months?
For months.
For
Races.
years.
He's there.
I could have swore Gasly was above him.
How are the 2 Alpines not above him yet? I just...
Oh, it hurts my
What?
head to see that.
Oscar Piastri's finally in the top 10 there.
Yeah, good on
And
him.
Lando Norris has jumped... I can't believe George Russell's that far down.
Well, I suppose he got a DNF last week from his crash.
It's true.
And he had, what did he have a couple weeks before? He had another one.
Yeah, well, he would have finished P3 had he got Lando. Well, we probably wouldn't have got Lando, but
Yeah.
he would have finished P3, which is like 18 points.
Yeah, he's definitely lost some points lately.
He would have been like up there with Leclerc had he not had 2 shitty races in a row. But I can't believe Lance Stroll is still there.
So frustrating.
And Max Verstappen 400 points, just knocking it out of the park.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, Mercedes from 2014 to 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Ferrari in 2003? 2002?
2002 was a like super dominant year.
Yeah. Right. right. And then we get the team standings. Red Bull are the Constructors' champions for 2023 on 623 points.
Max Verstappen's leading the constructors on his own too by 100 points.
Still.
Yep.
Still.
Mercedes is in second place with 305 points. Ferrari is in third place with 285. Oh, it's going to get down to the wire.
It's getting close.
It's getting. I'm tipping Ferrari's just going to pip them, but it's going to be. It's going to go to Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
It'll go to Abu Dhabi. Where is Gotifi when you need him? Fourth place is Aston Martin on 221 points. Fifth place is McLaren on 172 points. God, I hope McLaren gets them.
I don't know. They might just hold on.
Oh,
We're going to need some big results. We're basically going to have to be top 5 and for the rest of the year to hunt them down.
yeah. Well, I mean, it's just going to be them versus Fernando Alonso.
Yeah, basically.
Stroll is no man's land.
Yeah.
In sixth place is Alpine with 84 points. Seventh is Williams with 21 points. Eighth is Haas with 12 points. Ninth is Alfa Romeo with 10 points. And AlphaTauri has got 2 points. They got 5 points.
Alfa Romeo is hunting down Haas.
Yes.
The hunt is on.
Let's get it. Alfa Romeo.
Yeah,
Epic battle.
Someone stupid online said that there is a good chance that the Haas will get the Williams. It's like,
No.
are we watching the same Formula One here?
Alex Albon didn't have to
Has
retire from
Gene
the race.
Haas been slipping you some money that he should be spending on the team or something? You know, I don't get it. Right, so that's all that stuff. Then we get the social media for us, where you can interact with us. You can watch us on YouTube, care of Vindicator 18 channel, and also care of the F1 Chat -1. Don't forget the one.
Han.
The Juan, yes. We've got Facebook with the F1 Chat. We've got X,
X.
formerly known as Twitter.
Gonna give it to you.
X, go and give it to you with
Kiki.
fucking hell.
Kiki, what?
Fucking hell. X with the F1 Chat 1.
Yeah.
Don't forget the one.
I haven't updated that bad boy in like 3 months.
You're supposed to be a social media mogul. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know.
Jesus.
I might just put the
Gotta
last-
admit, guys, I'm pretty bad at it.
Look, X is a bit of a cesspool, but I'll try, okay?
We're on Rumble with the F1 Chat, and we're on Spotify with the F1 Chat.
Yes. Give us likes, subscribe, recommend
Comments.
5 out of 5 stars, whatever.
What I'm going to do is
Correct.
I'm going to run all of our Spotify episodes up on our X profile tonight to catch you up. So if you go check out
Fill in the
X,
blanks.
if you go check out X, I'll just do a running list.
All right. Now the
Going to give it to you.
The next episode is in 2 weeks' time, where we will be discussing the race from Qatar,
LaSalle.
the big Qatar solo.
That is the same weekend as Bathurst.
Yeah, and I'm playing a bloody gig at the end of Bathurst. What the?
That's all right. Qatar's going to be one of those weird, shitty Middle Eastern time slots, like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we won't be watching it live. That's a fake show.
true. But it also means we can have pizza.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I will unfortunately be away on assignment that week.
Oh no.
It's all right.
Maybe Barry Enchilada will step up.
Don't know. He's a bit busy.
Yeah,
It's all right. We got it.
pussy.
We got it.
We got it. Right. So,
The fans will probably be excited not to have to hear me rag on about Sogan Largent for a week.
It's all right. We can do it for you.
Yes.
well, if he does bad in the race, just send us a message and I'll play it through a microphone.
If he wins the Guitar Grand Prix, though, I also want a message from you. I want a statement of apology. Dear Logan Sargent, America, and Bud Light, I would like to apologize.
And then they get to Texas.
It's his home race, y'all.
He's got 3 home races this
Chevy
year.
Silverado for the win.
Yeah, gets to Texas and puts it in the wall in like the easiest corner
That's walls
again.
at Texas. That's a long way out. That's like,
Well, the imitation of maggots, Beckett's, and Cops.
that wall's a long way away, man.
He'll hit it.
He'll find it.
Do not put it past him.
If it's out there, I will find
He
it.
will search for it.
That's sort of like how Charlotte Claire somehow hit a wall at Paul Ricard. I didn't know that was possible.
You know what? Where Sargent would be great for? It'd be great for NASCAR.
I said IndyCar, but yeah, NASCAR.
It'd be perfect for hitting
At least
the
if
ball,
he
which is
bumps things in
NASCAR.
NASCAR, they're like sturdy.
That's what I mean. Like, that does
Crashing a dude out in NASCAR, like no repercussions.
rubbing the walls,
either.
racing in NASCAR. It'd be
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
for it.
Yeah.
Spin
Ask,
a dude out and you're
ask
fine.
Cole Trickle.
What was Danica Patrick's finishing record again?
Oh, that was.
I actually read up. Like, whoever put that on Twitter clearly did not do their research.
Oh,
It's actually better than what you put.
Yeah.
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 By
Say
some
that-
miracle.
I was
but
gonna say that seemed so unimaginable. Like,
her comment where she's like, Daniel Ricciardo is past his prime and should retire. Like, what?
You didn't even have a career. Your career highlight, you innovated the way to crash in a NASCAR. I shit you not. She crashed so many times in her first year. She was the one to figure out to do the cross arms. She was the one to figure out at a NASCAR to let go of the steering wheel, cross your arms, and brace yourself against the Hans device that other drivers started copying her when they crashed. And they had better chances of like not getting injured. That is it. She innovated how to crash.
She also innovated throwing your helmet at other drivers.
Oh, that's a long NASCAR tradition, man. That and the two pit crews having fisticuffs, which I'd love to see in F1.
oh yeah.
Toto and Christian just square it off.
Can you just imagine like the Williams mechanics, like someone just walking past, like late 9 again, boys, just just lose it.
Flicks the ciggy,
Fix the ciggy. That's
flicks
it.
the ciggy, drops the gloves. Let's go. Right, boys, let's get it.
You motherfucking mutt! I'll fucking do you!
They got
I'll
the-
fucking do you!
They
They'll-
got those like folding steel chairs they sit on too. Just runs out the pit lane, decks him.
They just turned into Blaze Bailey when he fronted Iron Maiden in Chile. Someone threw a bottle at the bass blast.
Get him.
After he's finished murdering the trooper, he's just sitting there going, I fucking told you! I fucking told you! Get him! If you see him, you fucking get him! Fucking kill him! Kill him! Fucking kill him! I'll show you the clip after we finish the episode, because you'll see it. Just go, that's fucked. Right, speaking of that's fucked, we're going to be back in 2 weeks
Yeah, sorry.
for Qatar. Until then, thank you for joining us. Please leave a comment and all that bizzo. Subscribe.
Ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
Whatever that means.
Leave a comment. Leave thumbus. Give us a
Thomas.
thumb up, not down,
Thumbus.
please. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Until then, it is goodbye.